Good afternoon. That was a great start to my talk, though. First of all, I'd like you all to join me in applauding all the other speakers you've heard this afternoon. A big round of applause to everyone. And I'd a special thanks to the organizing committee at TEDx Symbiosis Management Institute. It's really nice to be addressing all of you at Symbiosis Institute of Business Management. It's nice to speak to people who couldn't get into IIM Bangalore. No. I think we live in a society where a lot of people give too much importance to which school, which university, which degree you got. I think we care a lot about your IITs, your IIMs, your MBAs, your Harvards. I honestly feel that if a person is driven enough by his or her idea, I really don't think a college or university makes a difference. Oh, thank you. I, of course, say this because I went to a rubbish university, and just to put the disclaimer out there. But one thing I'd like to say, just if I could, is I really think we need to stop being inspired by resumes and start being inspired by attitudes. Because, oh, thank you, one person started clapping. You can continue, don't worry about that. So my name is Sundeep, I'm a comedian. I'm based in Bangalore. I've been doing this for about close to 6.5 years. I started doing comedy on the side in 2010 as a hobby when I was working at an IT company. This, of course, is a common source for humor in our society. And I was sitting at my computer at the workstation, and I still remember, I used to be a content writer for this company called Aditi Technologies, and they used to come and give me projects, content assignments, saying, "Sandeep, edit this technical paper." See, now it's perfectly fine for an engineer when she or he is faced with a technical paper, but for a sociologist looking at Java programming, trying to take the commas out of it doesn't really make much sense. So I realized that the work was getting a little frustrating. In fact, I used to take lovely naps after lunch for almost 4.5, 5 hours, very productive. And I figured I needed something to get all this frustration out of my system. Now, there were years of build-up of frustration. There was frustration from work. There was frustration from, not too much from family, but I think many of us who live with our parents know there's a certain amount of frustration there as well. And little did I know, I think the first couple of years after doing stand-up on the side, there were a significant sort of difference and difference in perspective for me came into my life when I approached humor, because it was always using humor for me amongst friends as a defense mechanism to diffuse situations. And it was a perfect way to sort of break the ice with people. Like, there's nothing better than a joke to break a fight. Nothing better than a joke to sort of break the silence in a group of people. And I started doing comedy on the side, and my sort of objective was, I said to myself, I made a group of friends laugh. How hard is it to make a room full of people who have no idea who I am laugh? Terribly difficult. And I realized that the hard way, because for the first year and a half, I was just coming up on stage and reading the headlines saying, what's the top 10 things funny about this particular topic. And it would get a laugh or two, but at the end of the day, I think the most important thing missing in that particular time when I was doing comedy was honesty in what I was talking about. Because for the longest time, in fact, 2010 to almost middle of 2013, I never addressed the fact that I was visually impaired, partially blind, partially sighted, whatever you'd like to call it, on stage. In fact, sometimes I'd walk on stage and I couldn't find the mic. And people were like, this guy's act is hilarious. He's this really good mime actor. I'm like, I can't really. So that would actually happen, and I was terrified of falling off the stage. These sort of small things would really deter me from talking about it on stage. And I was lying to myself. And I was lying to myself thinking, why would people like to listen to a guy who's half blind talking about something he goes through in life? And I was worried because what we do as Indians is we provide a label to people. Like the moment a person juggles, we're like, that guy who juggles, he's a juggler, he's the Indian juggler. I didn't want to be given that label of India's partially blind comedian, because I have more to offer than just the fact that I can't see. But then I realized, 2013, I realized to myself, it's not just about the fact about the label. When I talk about being partially blind, it's not my label, but in fact, it's my perspective, my filter into society. In fact, what a person who can see completely can see, they might not be able to see through my eyes, because by lack of seeing, I can actually see more. And that gave me a lot of perspective into various aspects of society. And this became a sort of my backbone of humor from 2013, because when I went up on stage and addressed the fact that, hey guys, this is who I am, this is what I am, this is what I can, what I can't do, it automatically became my armor, and I could talk anything. I talk about anything, I could address things, I could talk about my frustrations, my pain, my anger, and it became beautiful as an expression. And this brings me to the point of what makes people laugh. I think as a community, as a country, as a society, Indians, for the longest time, we've been exposed to humor in various forms, right? Be it regional humor, be it shows like Kapil Sharma, be it Mr. Bean. And I think many of us are very, very open to laughing at physical humor. Like when someone falls down the steps, hilarious. They have a brain concussion, even better, you know? It's fantastic. I still remember in school while growing up, we had a game where students would wait behind the pillar near the staircase, and the moment one of their classmates would come up to the top of the stairs, they'd run behind them and trip them, because that's what you do. And as you can tell, a lot of my classmates now are suffering from traumatic brain injury, which is a good thing. And that's what we thought was funny when we were growing up. And in fact, a lot of Indians still find physical humor funny. Like when you make fun of a person who is large in size, when you make someone for their sexual orientation, people think it's hilarious. Like, are you gay? Haha, he's gay. It's amazing. It's apparently funny. But I think we should, in certain ways, grow from that, because I'm not saying physical humor isn't funny. I'm not saying that it shouldn't be made fun of, but that's the beauty of comedy, because every person in this room has their own opinion and their own perspective, what they find and what they don't find funny. But here's one thing very significant about Indians, is that we love making fun of people and what they look like, what they talk like, but we hate laughing at ourselves. Because first, we're the first to laugh, like Arnab Goswami, haha, hilarious. But the same joke comes back on you. So, listen, I don't like this. It's not how comedy works. So I really think we should start by opening our sort of lives into laughing at ourselves, because I think we're all independent individuals who have unique perspectives, and we all have problems, I think, many of us more than others. But if we laugh at ourselves, that automatically takes out the thing that if you laugh at yourself, then if anyone laughs at you, it's not going to hurt you, right? Because comedy is a very, very relative form of entertainment. Like, it's not, in many forms, got mass appeal. It might not work for 1 million people, but it might work for 100 people beautifully. In fact, some people come up to me, they're like, Sundeep, you're a comedian. You know that Peter Russell, he's brilliant. I said, you mean Russell Peters? But fine, it's okay. It's perfectly fine. Because someone asked me once, what is comedy to you? And I said to them, comedy to me is an intellectual representation of a social observation presented in a dramatic manner by a human being to provoke laughter. Right? And he looked at me and he said, jokes, ah. I said, yes. That's it. Because humor is beautiful, right? Humor, I mean, why do we laugh, honestly? Why do we laugh at what we laugh at? Like, is it really funny to see someone fall down? Probably not. Is it really funny to see someone who's oversized, not fit in a chair? Exactly. Apparently it's hilarious to certain people. And I'm not saying that's right or wrong to laugh at it, but why do we laugh as human beings? And more importantly, why am I doing what I'm doing? Like, why am I doing this thing called stand-up comedy? Why am I getting up on stage, putting out my insecurities, talking about my disability? Because the fact is, when I do something like so personal to me about dealing with a disability on a day-to-day basis, dealing with my lack of eyesight on a day-to-day basis, narrating an experience which I experienced that particular day. And when I can take a room full of people who have no idea who I am, where I'm from, what I do, besides comedy, and I get that room full of people to laugh at that particular experience and observation and that emotion I'm going through, that feeling of uniting a group full of people who've come from different backgrounds, mindsets, and at that one point when they all laugh, and we all laugh at something I've said or observed, that feeling can surpass any sort of discrimination and division we have in society. Because humor, I think, is underrated. And I think, yes, we have every right to laugh at things which are silly. I, in fact, laugh at the silliest things sometimes. It's fantastic when you see a dog peeing on a man. It's hilarious. I think it's hilarious. But I think we can also move on from here, because we have evolved as a country, as a society. We've gone from place to place. And I think humor should evolve with us, because if we keep getting stuck in a rut where we're laughing at things which are, obviously funny, but things which can be moved on from. It's funny laughing at stereotypes, that Gujaratis are cheap, Punjabis are alcoholics, Kannadigas can't pronounce words. It's hilarious. But I think that's a stepping stone to the next level of humor, because I really think if we can take a social situation, a social issue, a problem in this country, and use humor to sort of deconstruct the problem and the underlying reason why these things happen, I think the best way to diffuse and address an issue is by laughing at it. If we all can laugh at the fact there's something wrong with us as people, as Indians, and as Indians we make this country. So if we laugh at it, we know that something's wrong with it, and if we know there's something wrong with it, it's the first step to making it better. So I think humor is something I've been using, and what I'd like to say is that we should move on as a country. We should really like grab hold of different kinds of humor. Now, I'm coming to the next point of what is humor. I do stand-up comedy, which is an art form where you get up on stage, hold a mic, and do jokes. That's spoken word. There's obviously improvisational comedy where 3, 4 actors get up on stage, you give them situations, people laugh at those situations, they make it funny. Now, there's obviously sketch comedy where people write sketches which are based on day-to-day activities, day-to-day situations, like, for example, going to the grocery store, you make a sketch out of it, and you act it out on stage, or you put it up on YouTube. Now, what tends to happen is people get confused right now in India because they think that if you do one, you can do all, and you can do all of them well, which might not be the case, because people come up to me, they're like, Sundeep, you're a stand-up comedian? I said, yes. You can't be. I said, why? You're not on YouTube. Which is perfectly fine. That's got me to thinking that people are under the assumption that just because you have a sketch on YouTube, you can do all of the other forms of comedy. You possibly can, but you might not be the best at all, because each person, as a comedian, as a comedic art form, is meant for a certain form of comedy. There might be a great improvisational actor who might be terrible at stand-up, and vice versa. But what I'm trying to say is that if we, and if all of you as audiences can respect what you like, and by that, you respect the artist who's doing that particular art form for what he or she is doing, I think we can grow various avenues of humor in this country. And there is much more for everyone to offer and to witness. Because sketch comedy can highlight something stand-up doesn't. Stand-up can highlight something improvisational comedy doesn't. So I think if we all can celebrate the fact that humor takes different shapes and forms, and if we can laugh at it, and we can appreciate that fact, I think we can really grow humor in India. We can have different avenues which explore different problems. And through the virtue of comedy and laughter, we can make this country a better place. So I think my goal is pretty clear, ladies and gentlemen. I've been doing comedy, and I was supposed to be funny on stage today. I don't think I was, but that's a good show for me. What I'm trying to say is partial sightedness is something which is a part of my life. I can't really change it. And it's interesting for me when people address disability in the form of comedy. Because, for example, right now, people come up to me and they get confused when I talk about my eyesight. When I say I'm partially blind, they have no clue what I'm talking about. In fact, this is when I realize Indians are competitive people. Because when I say I'm partially blind, in their heads, they think I've failed at even being fully blind. They're like, you're partially blind. Can't you work hard or be fully blind? It's like getting 10th rank in your college. Like, no one respects you, right? Because the thing is that it is ridiculous, right? Because people always categorize disabilities into two extremes. They either think a person is completely blind or he or she can see. Either a person's in a wheelchair or he and she can walk. Either a person's retarded or they voted for Rahul Gandhi. It's always... And here's my thing. I don't know why people always come and tell me this. They come up to me, they're like, Sundeep, do you realize Rahul Gandhi is an idiot? I said, that may be the case, my friend. But we in the disabled community are proud of Rahul Gandhi. Because finally, for once in our history, a mentally challenged person has reached such high level of politics. It is amazing. That he can walk and talk at the same time, it's fantastic. So this is the thing. I mean, I'm not trying to deconstruct jokes because I think many comedians take their jokes too seriously. Like, in fact, you go up to a comedian, you go to him or her and say, you know, that joke was good, but I think it was silly in the comic. That's the worst thing a comedian would like to hear. The comedian will be like, go back home, get depressed, and be like, what was not funny about it? We try overanalyzing jokes. And sometimes, I'll give you 2 examples. Like, when at points I'm trying to sort of write new material, I'm experiencing a writer's block. That's because I realize I take a step back. I'm trying to force the humor out of issues. Like, for example, now one of you comes up to me like, hey, man, can you write a joke about our college? Now, I could, if I spend enough time with you guys and on campus, knowing your professors, your faculty, I'm sure I'll have enough material coming up. Yeah, exactly. But if I come up and right now at the gate, someone's like, dude, can you write a joke about this building? I'll have to force the humor out of it. I'll have to like take out points which, and if I come and crack it in front of you, you guys will probably be like, you know, who's this guy coming from outside, doesn't know anything about the interior workings of our college, coming cracking a joke. The honesty is lost. The originality of that joke is lost. But at times when I talk about something so naturally to me, but as I said, something about like the morning I wake up and I see the milkman delivering milk and the dogs chasing him, it's a natural observation. It comes naturally to me. It's funny. Is it funny because he's poor and he's getting chased by a dog? Not really. But the act of him delivering milk at 6 in the morning, he's woken up, he's like barely like awake, and suddenly like 10 dogs chasing him. He's like trying to keep the milk alive. It's just like there's something in it which is a natural sort of organic build-up of that joke. So I think comedians overanalyze jokes. And I think sometimes the silliest things make us laugh. But at the same time, sometimes the most beautiful and pure emotions make us laugh. Like sometimes you can just bring, like some of you just now can just sit in this room and something might just click that emotion where all of you laugh at some time. And that's stand-up beyond laughter. Laughter is an emotion. Anger is an emotion. I think laughter is one of the most enjoyable emotions because it's fun. You can just completely break your inhibitions and you can just completely throw your head back and laugh and look like a complete fool while doing it, and you have no issues about doing that. And I think that's why laughter is important, because it takes us away from that safe zone about how we look, how we sound, why we should look like this, why we should sound like this. All the sort of restrictions society's put on us, laughter can take that away in a second. When we just like we have snot coming out of our nose, like, it's hilarious. It's amazing. It's amazingly liberating. Sometimes when you laugh so hard, you have cramps. And it's good. Because that way you lose weight while you're laughing, which is fantastic, right? Because people laugh at different things. Like, for example, we, as Indians, we've influenced by different groups of people, right? Like right now, outsourcing is very popular in India, right? But I really feel the Indians are a little cautious towards outsourcing, ladies and gentlemen, because the first time we were approached with an outsourcing project, that project lasted for 250 years. So we're a little bit cautious. I'm sure a British guy will be like, hello, sir, I'm here for your outsourcing project. Would you like a cup of tea? Yes, a cup of tea. That'd be fantastic. What's the project called? The project's called colonialism, sir. Yes, that's the project. And we were influenced by the British for many years, and the British taught us how to speak English, right? They spoke these words they taught us, right? And we Indians were using those words while growing up in school. And then the Americans came in and they threw their American way of pronouncing words to us. Like, for example, the British said schedule. The Americans say schedule. Indians are like, hey, I'm Indian. Schedule. We make it our own. The British are like, that's conservative. The Americans are like, that's conservative. Indians are like, conservative. Very good. It's amazing. So we do this. As Indians, we are very resourceful people because if we can't find something funny, we will make it funny by making it Indian. That's how amazingly innovative we are. That's how we are. With anything in life. It doesn't suit us, screw it. I'm not going to drop it. I'll make it mine. We'll Indianize the hell out of it and we're proud of it. And ladies and gentlemen, that's my goal going forward, because comedy is something that can connect us. Comedy can make this country a better place, and it can be an emotion that breaks down barriers. So my goal going forward, ladies and gentlemen, is to change the world one smile at a time. Thank you very much. I've been Sundeep. Thank you. Thank you.